Well, I have something fun. I would, it's on the inquiry circle. I'm working on something that's chronically infuriating to me. Right, it's deep and heavy. And this one,
Mm.
I just is like this petty, obnoxious thing that I do. And so I thought, that's fun. Let's work on me being petty and mean.
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So here's the situation. I went to a talk. There were three people from the Netherlands who came to talk about bicycling in Holland and how we can learn from it. Because they have dedicated bike lanes everywhere. You can bicycle. It's just really remarkable. And so it was a great presentation. At the end, they said, "And now, are there any questions?" And as always happens, I don't know if it happens where you live, but here, when that is said, "Are there any questions?" people stand up, and instead of asking a question, they get on a soapbox and they say what they think about the topic. And there's no question there. They're just wanting to rant about their thing. So that happened. And this one woman, not only did she not ask a question, but she's made a statement that wasn't true. And so this is, I'm going to pick, I can either pick ask a question or why weren't you listening? They already answered that question. And I think the one that's meaner is the one, why weren't you freaking listening? Why don't you pay attention? Like, she should have been paying attention, and now she's wasting our time because she's asking a question and they already talked about that. I want it. So it's pretty mean. So I think that's where I'll work. So.
Okay, great.
Mean.
Right. So, in what you were saying there are a couple of possible statements that we could question. One, she wasn't paying attention, or she should have been paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one I heard was she's wasting our time. She's
Uh-huh.
wasting. Yeah. So, what feels closer to you, or there may be another one. What feels close to
Um,
what's actually the statement to question?
I think she should have been paying attention.
Okay.
Probably.
Great.
Yeah.
So let's do the work.
Okay.
Put yourself there in that room, and that person is getting up in the question and answer session and talking about something, yeah, not even not even true. You feel it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So she's wasting our time. Is it
Yeah.
true? Okay.
Well,
And
I
can
think I think that's why I want to
and
go
can
with
you
it. It's
absolutely know
clear
it's
that
true?
she's not wasting her time. I mean, that's a little bit, but it's much clearer that she should have been paying attention. So
Oh, I'm
that,
sorry. I was
that's okay.
listening to it and then I didn't pay attention and I didn't write down the statement. I couldn't have done that more perfectly if I tried.
That's so perfect.
Okay, so give me the statement again for me who was not paying attention.
She should have been paying attention. She should
There it
have been.
is. Okay.
Todd should have been paying
I love
attention.
it. It should
Okay.
have been painted. I'm getting hot. It's getting hot in here. Okay, so she should have been paying attention. All right, so I put you back in that situation. Now,
No.
now let's go. Let's start from the beginning again. So,
Okay.
so she should have been paying attention. Is that true?
Oh, it's so true. Yes.
Yes. And can you absolutely know it's true? She
No.
should have been paying attention.
No.
Okay. So, how do you react? What happens when you're seeing this person ranting and raving and you're thinking they should have been paying attention?
I can barely contain myself from screaming at her. I want to scream at her. You should have been paying attention. They already answered the question, and you're not asking a question. I just want to just like blast her. And I'm like, I can't wait until it's done so I can tell Jeff, that person, doesn't that bother you? And then just like go on and on about it for weeks, and just saying, how people are in Eugene and they get on their soapboxes. So I'm like, I'm just so scornful. And I'm just like, oh my God, and then also just like, I just, yeah. So that's all going on. So I'm just tearing her to shreds in my mind and almost
Yeah.
almost doing it for real. And I could even feel like
Right.
it's so petty that I might go up and say to one of the presenters, say, I'm so sorry that all these people didn't ask questions. I'm sorry they wasted your time. I so appreciated it. And clearly you had already answered the questions, like I want to just like go up and, like, I feel like there's something that needs to be fixed and apologies need to be made. And, that we just made a bad showing. She's embarrassing us as a community, and all the other people who did the exact same thing. That in Eugene, people don't pay attention, they don't listen, and then they take the stage and they steal it from the presenters, and they just right. So that's the basic picture of how I get
Yeah.
pretty bad.
Very clear. Very clear.
Very
Yes.
bad.
Do you notice it in your body anywhere when you think she should have been paying attention?
Yeah, I mean, I can the tension of not yelling at her. I can feel in my throat. Like it's just because I don't want to be mean and I know better, but and then that makes me even more. It's like, oh, you're the one that's doing something annoying and you're affecting us, but I'm trying to be thoughtful. Like, so even that has me filled with resentment. It's like, you didn't hesitate to do what you're doing, but because I know it's not polite to yell at you, I'm holding in what I want to say. So then that builds up. Then it just starts, coming out from there. And I get,
Yeah,
yeah. So everything is like, mm, yeah, tense and tight.
makes sense. Yeah. So, who would you be listening to that same person if you didn't have any thought that she should have been paying attention?
Um, One thought is I would look at the presenters. I would let go. I mean, if the presenters have a problem with it, they can say something. You know, they could say, pause for, that to say, interrupt her and say, we really want this to be for questions and answers. So, maybe we can be in touch by email or whatever. But they didn't say that. So I could just let go and say, it's not my, it's not my event. Here I am getting upset about what's going wrong with it, but it's not my event, and maybe everybody else is enjoying what she's saying. And also, um, I would, it's funny. It's like someone stole the back wheel off my bike yesterday, and I didn't think they shouldn't have. I mean, it was there. Of course, they shouldn't have stolen my wheel. But, the fact is, if they did, then they're not in a very good place. So I just felt, that's too bad. So it's interesting. I had more compassion for the person who stole the wheel of my bike, which actually has a bigger impact. I couldn't ride my bike home. I had to buy a new wheel. It was expensive. But there's something there. So I would have probably had more compassion. Like, yeah, well, clear. I mean, she didn't get it. She didn't hear it. So I would have just been like, huh. And then I would just feel the sadness. I always know, but instead of feeling angry, I just feel sad. There's just something about people not listening. Um, yeah. And I don't know. I just feel, um, it's funny. I just feel, more like alone and scared instead of angry. I would just notice that she hadn't, and that if there's something I wish could be happening in it, and it seems like it can't if people, because of what she's doing, that I'm more aware of. I'm actually more aware of the real impact rather than rather than thinking she's ruining it for everybody and she's, instead of making it this huge thing, I would just be more in touch with my upset. Yeah.
Okay. So, how would you turn this thought around? She should have been paying attention.
Um, I should have been paying attention. I, as I said, I could have paid attention to what was happening in the room and paying attention to the presenters. I should have been paying attention to my own feelings more carefully to see, because I didn't notice any of the sadness or this fear. I just noticed my anger and just, when I said I felt this tightness because I had to keep myself from yelling at her, if I had slowed down to notice what I was feeling, then maybe I could have just sat there, just feeling that, paid attention to myself. And I should have been paying attention. I could have just paid attention to her and said, well, this is interesting. There's not much I can do about it. She wasn't listening. So what's going on? What do I see? I see somebody who has so much emotion wrapped up in bicycles. She said, we'll never, ever, ever get people to listen. We'll never get them to stop using their cars. We'll never get them to ride their bicycles. I'm like, wow. Just like they just spent this whole hour talking about that Dutch people love their cars, that Dutch people drive, and and I was so sad. I was like, they just said, you don't have to go on a big quest. You can be relaxed about it, right? I could have actually gone over to her later and said, hey, you seemed really upset. They actually said something that's really helpful, which is, you can be relaxed about it. So there's some ways I should have been listening.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. Paying attention to her because there
Paying
was a
attention.
lot going on there. She
Yeah,
was presenting in a way, right?
she was. She was really upset. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then going back to the original presentation, um, like, were you paying attention?
Hmm. It's funny. I mean, I think of myself as someone who pays very close attention,
Mm.
but I actually don't know. I don't know what I missed because I don't know. If I missed something, I don't know that I missed it. So I think I
That is
was,
interesting. Yeah.
you know. So
It's like me just a few minutes ago, not knowing that I had missed. You don't know what you don't know. Until you think you got it all, but you never know.
and um I should have been paying attention because I like to pay attention to what I like to pay attention to,
Yeah.
and she was paying attention to what she likes to pay attention to, which might have been just being with people, which might have been other parts. And I actually don't know when she went into the room. Maybe she missed the part where they said,
Right?
you know, I don't know. I didn't know that she was there until she spoke. So, but
Really good point.
yeah.
So I should have been paying attention because I like to, and maybe you really were, you know. So that's great. It's just can't expect the other person to in the same way.
Yep.
So is there another turnaround? She should have been paying attention.
She shouldn't have been paying attention, or she was paying attention, but that's not quite it. She shouldn't have been
Mm,
paying attention. Um,
okay.
yeah, she should have been doing what she does when she goes to these events, whatever that is. So she was doing what she should be doing because of who she is. And
And if we just imagine her, because it's all just imagination, but if we imagine her, like how could that be serving her to do it that way, to pay attention to whatever she pays attention to?
well, it could be she was paying it. If she had paid more attention, she might have gotten more upset. I mean, maybe she has self-regulating functions. I mean, some people who are very, very high strung need to shut down a bit to self regulate. So it could
Mm,
be as a possibility that if she had paid more attention, she would have started crying, or she would have started yelling, or she wouldn't have been able to stay, or would have overwhelmed her. So she has learned that she shouldn't pay too much attention and take in too much because it's not good for her.
I like it.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. For all I know, she has autism, right? you know,
Right.
she was taking care of herself. Um,
Never know what handicap she brings, right?
right?
So,
No, I who knows? And she shouldn't have been paying attention because maybe what she had to bring was to give the people from Holland a picture of how different it is here. Holland is they're so pragmatic. They outlawed conventional potatoes 30 years ago simply because people eat a lot of potatoes and it was better for the population for it to be organic, and they just are practical. They said, there wasn't a big discussion. They didn't say it was better. They didn't get on a high horse. They just did it. And so people said that they need to have safer streets for bicycles and children. And they worked and they worked and they worked, but it wasn't this intense thing in Eugene. It's all so self-righteous and so intense about climate change. And if they're gonna continue going through the states, it's good for them to know when they talk with people in the US to understand, oh, you talk about it differently here. We can't just take how we do it in Holland and bring it here because you're all so freaking emotional. You're all so and so it was perfect. She and all the other people show
yeah.
exactly what they're going to be coming across when they talk with people who are advocating for more bike lanes.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so it
It's
was
almost
good.
like you were trying to protect them from that, try to just shield them somehow
Right.
and it's actually good for them to be exposed.
It is. This is how quirky we are. And wonderful. We're wonderful too, but it makes for a difficult meeting sometimes.
Certainly dynamic, right? Certainly.
Definitely
Yeah.
dynamic. So,
So she shouldn't have been paying attention, right?
nope.
Okay. I don't know if there are any other turnarounds. Do you see anything more? She should have been paying attention.
I should have been paying attention. Nope, I don't think so. Do you?
Not really, other than the one you kind of mentioned, which is sort of just a loose turnaround of like she was paying attention, right? Like she shouldn't
Yeah.
have been paying attention because she was in some
Mm-hmm.
regard,
Yeah.
and so I don't know if there are any examples of that come to mind.
Well, she knew we were talking about bicycles. She wasn't completely off
Okay, she
topic.
was on topic. That's good.
And she was paying attention to herself. She was paying attention to what's important to her. And that's what she wanted to share. And she was paying attention to where she was. You know, it was a friendly crowd. She was saying things that other people in the room agreed with. So it could be that it was, she saw it as a good place to say what she wanted to say because people there would support her and say, "Yeah, you're right. It is that bad," you know. So she was paying attention to
Right.
that.